the top of the hour.
There we go.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone. This is our builders call of February. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Fantastic. And so we want to welcome you as you jump on the call today. I am on my phone right now because my computer is like dead. Selena says she's ordering me one and gonna have it shipped to the house. Anyhow, just as a reminder and to set some quick context for this call, this happens the first and third Tuesdays of each month. And we're super excited to be here with you together today. The call is designed for anybody that's looking to grow, build, scale their organization, plug into a larger collaborative conversation. And then in the off weeks, which would be the second and the fourth weeks, you have the opportunity to be in conversation and communication with your leadership in the organization you're growing and building. So this creates a cadence for a larger conversation and then a place for you to lead based on your vision and execute that as well. So literally anyone is welcome on these calls, and how the content gets set is we'll generally have you put things in the chat group, things that you have that you want to walk away with from the conversation today. Or questions that you may have so that we can create a larger conversation around it in the community. Sometimes we will have people that will be interviewing. Our next call on the third week, we have an incredible builder that will be interviewing. And so that will be the cadence and kind of how the flow goes for all of those the calls and the basis of the calls. So as we jump in today, we had a topic that we wanted to start off with. And then if you could, please put any questions or things that you'd like to have, make sure that we cover in today's call in the chat below. Selena and I were talking yesterday in preparation for this call, really about what a very special window of time we're in right now in the month of February and March, particularly, and why it's important and specific strategies that you can use and implement in this window of time over the next 60 days that maybe aren't as relevant the rest of the year, however, are very relevant right now. So what I'd love to do is just kind of open up that conversation for those of you that may be meeting Selena for the first time. She has over 25-year background in the industry in real estate and worked in all facets of it. She currently right now is running the Rick Jiha real estate sales team, and she works with me together on the Empire Builders Pro side of things. She's got a vast skill set that can add value across all of those platforms. And one of the things that she's done a lot of is recruiting and hiring and finding the right people and the right people in the right places to help grow and scale real estate sales businesses. So if you were on the A to Z's of team building yesterday, anyone looking to grow and scale the real estate sales business team, that's an incredible call that roughly 40 plus people are plugging into on the first and third Mondays of each month. However, we also have her and the benefit of her support and experience in this context as well. So Selena, would love for you to just kind of jump in on, what we started talking about yesterday, your perspective on it. And I know because you, still are actively coaching with Workman Success Systems as a master coach for that company, you have a purview into some of the largest, teams around the US and brokerages, and those are your clients. So I'm going to pass it over to you to kind of jump in and give a lay of the land and landscape for the conversation that we're going to start off with today.
Yep, you bet. So as Casey mentioned, this is like my favorite time of the year to kind of talk about recruiting. And the reason for that is everybody just got their 1099s. Okay, so they're either really happy or they're really not. So it's kind of a great opportunity to start having conversations with people. It's that time where they're trying to make a decision on whether or not they want to change. Now, a lot of people made a change at the end of the year. We personally saw that as we were recruiting people at the end of the year, and onboarding team across the country was slammed. We saw that as we were bringing people in at the end of the year. However, a lot of people make a decision when they get their 1099. They look at it and they think, oh, I didn't have the year I wanted, really. And the only reason I say this is because a lot of us track our numbers all the time. Some people truly do not until they get that little piece of paper in their hand or they get that digital 1099 and then they're like, that's maybe not what I thought it was going to be. And they start kind of figuring out like, oh, is this where I want to be? Or maybe they took too much out. I spent too much on my cap, or maybe I don't have a cap and I'm paying, commissions on everything. And they start making changes or thinking about making changes. So if there's a good time to start talking to people, it's literally right now. Okay. And the reason that Casey mentioned, as I coach, I'm privy to a lot of questions from different brokerages all across the country, and they're definitely asking questions about how to be competitive in the marketplace with EXP at the moment. It's coming up quite a bit. So we seem to be creating some concern out there about how to be competitive against us, because we offer a lot. Right? We offer a lot, a small cap, we offer rev share, we offer things like that. So what I wanted to talk about today was, how do you have those conversations? Who are you finding? How are you finding those people right at this time? One of my favorite methods at this time of year is, if you're looking for someone on a team, or if you're looking for people who you think EXP might be able to help in general. Okay, if you have access to Brokermetrics, that's a great opportunity, but you can also do this with your, and I'm gonna let somebody in. You can also do this with your MLS. The people we're most likely to help, especially even with what we offer in Empire Builders, right, is people who are fairly newly licensed in the last couple of years, who are only doing a couple of transactions a year. And I would say, 2 to 6, right? They've gotten their feet a little bit wet. They're not completely brand new. They've maybe done a couple, but they'd really like to do more. So you can go into the MLS and you can search in the past year who's licensed and who's done 2 to 6 transactions. Okay, so I want you to think about this from the perspective of high volume lead generation from a listing and buy side, but now high volume lead generation from a recruiting side. So typically when I pull it, I'm pulling 100 people at a time, and I'm putting them into a CRM. And by the way, KV Core does actually have a recruiting CRM portion that you can turn on, but you can put it into anything, or you can just keep it in a spreadsheet, doesn't really matter. And you're making calls just like you'd be making calls for a seller or a buyer. Okay, and it's a very easy conversation. Hey, I noticed that you're fairly new into real estate. You did 4 transactions this year. That's great. Hey, have you ever wanted to do more? And chances are they're going to say yes. Most people don't get into real estate, so maybe they can do 1 or 2 transactions or whatever it is, right? And you start that conversation. Listen, we offer a lot of training. We offer this, we offer that, right? You're finding whatever their pain point was. 9 times out of 10, it's not about the commission split wherever they are. I just want you to know, it's not usually about the split. It's usually something else that they didn't get where they are. Support, mentorship, guidance, something like that. Sometimes it is about the split. Okay, it really is. But usually when it's somebody fairly new like that, it's that they didn't have a person, or they didn't have someone, or like a group or a call or something they could participate in. So it's important. But that first thing is acknowledging that they had transactions. And that's why it's important to have their data in front of you. That's why it's important to pull that information from the MLS, so that when you make the call and you can say, I see that you, because the first thing they're going to do is ask you the same thing a buyer says. The buyer lead, where'd you get my information? First thing they say, like, they get defensive. And you say, oh, you know what? I pulled it up from the MLS. When I wanted to say, congratulations, you closed 4 transactions and it looks like you're a fairly new agent. That's great. That's fantastic. Acknowledge that. But I also wanted to know, have you ever wanted to do more? Okay, so it's a different, you're acknowledging that they did great and you see that they're fairly new, but have you ever wanted to do more? You see, you're changing it up, and now you're saying, let me tell you what we have to offer. Meet them for coffee, meet them for lunch, whatever that is. Oh, I'm so sorry, my phone is ringing right now. Let me figure out how to decline that while this is going. Okay, there we go. So that's, honestly, guys, you can pull hundreds and hundreds of people from your MLS to do this. So basically, when I was doing this at a very high level, I was doing my lead gen at the same time my agents on the team I was running was doing their lead gen for buyers and sellers. So I was doing lead gen for recruiting. They were doing lead gen for buyers and sellers at the same time. There are, depends on the size of your MLS, hundreds of new people. Okay, and who was at Build? Was anyone here at Build in Dallas last year? Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember seeing you. So anybody remember, were you there for the Tony Robbins portion? Yeah. Do you remember when he said, raise your hand if you're new to real estate in just the last couple of years? And like almost the whole room raised their hand. Yeah. And he said, congratulations, none of you know how to do real estate. And everybody was like, what? And he said it was because real estate just sort of fell in your lap. Oh, hang on, Erica, you're muted. Do you want to unmute?
Yeah, that was priceless for me. I've been in 26 years. So sitting in the room, I'd already had that thought, but to have him put it into words on that stage in front of everybody, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's been a completely different animal for the last 7 to 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And it's true. So here's the other thing I want you to think about. They don't have to just be licensed recently in the last year or so. It can be the last 3 years because they were in a market where business fell into their lap and now they don't know what to do because it's not falling in their lap right now. So they might have had a ton of transactions in 2020 and a ton of transactions in 2021. And now all of a sudden you see it tapering. And now they're like, I don't know what to do because why is my phone not ringing off the hook and business falling into my lap? So you can also look at historical data and see that they went from 20 transactions to 10 transactions to 4 transactions, and now they still need our help. Right? So this is where you're getting this information from to find these people and offer them solutions, right? So this is a great time to make these kinds of calls because they don't know what to do. They don't know what real estate looks like and how to lead generate and how to do the things that we can offer for them, right? So I would say start there. So that's one strategy. Sorry, I'm going to mute whoever is there. We see. Sorry, Katie. Hear it. The other strategy is to go back to everyone you closed a transaction with in the last 1 to 2 years. Okay, every single person, and think of who you had a great experience with. Really think through and say, who was it that I thought, wow, they seemed pretty savvy. They seemed like I really enjoyed doing business with them. They seemed like a really good, person. And did I really do what I needed to do to say they would be a great fit with EXP? Right? Most of the time, you're in your transaction, you're in your head, you're running through it, and you're not even thinking about the opportunity of bringing them in. Okay, so I want you to think about that perspective too. And same thing. Hey, let's have coffee. Let's have lunch. Okay, you have a lot of opportunities here to build. Lots of opportunities and different strategies to do it. So that's the second one. The third one is the one that most people never spend any time thinking about. And it's the people who aren't licensed yet. And it's the people that are around you all the time that would make a great agent. Okay, all the time. It's waiters and waitresses and the people at the mall that are afraid of no one. Like the people who want to sell you like the perfume and the hair thing. Like, those people are amazing. They are scared of nothing. Okay, they are scared of nothing. Keep your card with you all the time and talk to them about what those opportunities look like for them. Okay, those are strategies. People, you just pass them by all the time, right? You're like, me, don't talk to me about that hair curler thing. I don't need that. That's another strategy though. Think about how you might possibly change their lives. And don't just walk past them. Okay, take 5-10 minutes and have a real conversation with them. Okay, so there are all these strategies that are I'm going to encourage you to think about this. If any of you have been on any of our other calls where we talk about pillars of income with regards to your sales business, pillars of income with regards to your revenue share and your builder's business. What are you doing? What are you working for pillars of income to think about building these kinds of activities and actually working them regularly and thinking about them this way to continue to build. Is anybody working something regularly right now that you feel like you're like, oh, this works? This is how I'm bringing people in? Anybody want to share? No? I don't know, Shay, you looked like you thought of something for a minute. I saw your eyebrows go up.
Oh, I don't really have anything consistent yet. I'm putting things into place, but I did have a really successful cross-country tour. I went to California, I started in San Diego to pick up a Jeep, one of our vehicles to bring to Iowa. And I called different people in San Diego, Las Vegas, Utah, Denver, and I made meetings with them along the whole trip back. And they were all like really awesome. Like people were really responsive, like just sitting down, talking to them about what they're doing, what their goals look like. Some of them had no idea how it worked, and some of them maybe kind of did or whatever. But anyway, just getting face to face with them was super good. So that's just what I've done lately. And now I'm trying to figure out how to do that in a scalable way or something, you know. But anyway, it was super good.
Anybody else? Oh, John, you look like you want to say something.
Me?
Yeah. I saw your hand go
I
forward like you were going to unmute.
oh, I was messing with my phone, but I came in late. So what's your question?
What
I'm
are you,
sure
is
I
there
have
any-
a
That's okay. Is there anything that you're currently working on right now that you use to recruit? Is there some a strategy that you're using?
well, you know, I've gone through this genesis of my process of how I do it, and I was trying to stick to like Fridays 2 to 5 and having that be sacred time. I'm still in production, and production is really important to me. So things come up, listing appointments come up, and I go on those. And so those Fridays 2 to 5, sometimes they get interrupted. And I've realized that just this year, starting in January, I work with my wife. We're partners, and we have been focusing on simply making an effort to call 1 to 2 agents a day. And so by the end of the week, when Friday comes, if we've got time to still do that 2 to 5 time, we do it. But if something comes up, we feel good because we've made 1 to 2 calls every day and connections. And that's been really helpful for us. And then the other thing is, we've been, prior to this year, we were focusing on, you know, building relationships and having a lot of conversations with agents, which honestly were not going anywhere because we weren't talking about EXP. We were focusing on building relationships and being nice, which is great. But 2-3 months down the road, you've got nothing to show for it. And so we have really been focusing on just, you know, our conversations are direct about EXP. We're calling about business. We want to share what we're doing with EXP, and we'd love to learn about your business. And that has built us a pipeline of good conversations where we're actually talking about EXP and potentially having people come join us, as opposed to having several conversations and just building relationships.
Casey, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yes, so the Maui mastermind that we were just at was incredible. And actually, we're going to download a lot of the stuff from there on our leadership call, which is the second Thursday of the month, which will be this Thursday. So that we'll be downloading all that in an organized format there. However, there's a couple of things about what John just said, and that is that anytime you can do something on a daily basis, your skills go up because you get some personal momentum versus having one thing that you do once a week. And I thought that was, you know, it's really about building the muscle of how you talk to people, how you have those conversations, and even the 1 to 2 a day being a really powerful thing, even if it doesn't feel like it's a lot, that can be even more powerful than a Friday, you know, for a couple of hours in the afternoon. So that was one thing. And then the second thing is, how do you build relationship while being in a recruiting or prospecting conversation? Because it can happen at the same time, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, I need to build relationship, add value, build relationship, add value. And so it's like in one lane, and then this attraction recruiting conversation is in another lane. And the truth is, if you're, you know, if you're doing it, they sit in the same lane. They actually do sit in the same lane. So when my intention is that I want to build a relationship because I want to find out where I can be a resource and a service to the person that I'm sitting in front of, I am building relationship while adding value, to them. Somebody shared at the Maui Mastermind, it was just a very simple script. And it was, here's why I'm calling. I've always respected, whatever the compliment is about them, which follows the format and the boot camp that we teach. I believe I found the next chapter in real estate. Everything that's ever been broken in our industry, EXP has fixed it, and I'm having a blast. I'm sure you've been hit up by a bunch of people about EXP, and then you pause to hear whatever it is they're going to say. And then the next piece of the script was, I want to be really clear. I don't need to recruit you. I'm just looking for a way that we can link arms and a way that we can collaborate at a much deeper level. Are you open to exploring ways that we can do that? And what I love about that as the conversation is that, am I still there?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're just
Okay.
frozen. But
Yeah, what I love about that from the conversation piece is that it's clear, it's direct, it's non-threatening, and you're doing those things in tandem, building a relationship while adding value, specifically value that we can add as a result of what we have to offer here.
love that.
And if I could add something to that,
Yeah.
What Casey said when she said, I'm sure you've been hit up by a lot of people about EXP. Pause. I did that yesterday. I paused and the person said, yeah, I've actually talked to so-and-so and I've talked to so-and-so. I haven't done a deep dive. And I'm actually really happy where I'm at right now. I'm looking at doing a collaboration with someone and possibly teaming up. And I said, I get that. That all makes sense. I said, what I would ask is if it's okay if I follow up with you 90 days, because I've talked to enough people and I've had this experience in my life where today it might not be right for you, but in 90 days, something changes with your broker or personally. And I find that it's a good time to follow up. And she said, that would be great. I'd love to follow up in 90 days. And so while she obviously didn't join yesterday, permission to call her in 90 days and follow up, and that's kind of set. And I feel as though if I do that enough, I will build that pipeline, just like building a pipeline for sellers or buyers. And it just starts to build and flow like that. But having that permission to reach back out in 90 days kind of makes me feel like I've got a great opportunity in 90 days to follow back up and further that conversation.
Yeah. So you open to a recommendation on that?
Sure.
Cut the time in half.
Okay.
So about every 30 days, something major is happening in someone's life. That could be personal or professional. And so those windows open generally every few weeks, every 3 to 4 weeks. So even if you've got it set for 90 days, you just, the reset on that is, hey, I told you I'd follow up in 90 days. However, there was something, there's something exciting happening or going on. So I wanted to reach out and connect, The other thing is that the conversation where someone says they're happy where they're at and everything's going well, and they know a little bit, but they're focused on what they're focused on, is what I like to say in that moment in time is, it sounds like where you're at right now is perfect for you and that everything's going amazing. However, are you somebody that likes to stay at the forefront and be positioned for what's happening, where the market's heading, where the business is going? And most people will say yes. And in that instance, it's really just due diligence, a learning, right? And if they go through the due diligence and even if the time is not right, but they actually put the pieces together about what we're doing and what's available to them, when the time becomes right, they already know, instead of not knowing and needing to go through a due diligence process at that time. And also what that does is, if someone else comes along at day 40 and things are going sideways and you haven't had a follow-up with them yet, and they say, oh my gosh, are you open to just seeing another way and how it could look or how it could work, even though you're not, you're good where you're at right now, and they say yes, and someone puts those pieces together for them. Now that conversation has been swooped out from underneath of you. So,
Right.
and it's not through anything other than just a time and opportunity and who was there at the time, right? So we never know what someone's time is going to be. And that's why when I'm talking to people, I like to say, are you open or are you not open? And this isn't about making a change. This is about getting educated, right? So are you open to becoming more educated about what's actually available? And are you open to seeing what that, what those possibilities look like? And are you open to understanding, at a more deeper level, what the potential impact could be? Even if you never change where you're at or what you're doing right now, just for the purpose of adding to your knowledge base about the industry and what's available to you as a professional in the industry. And those conversations, because they're not a move to EXP conversation, they're really an educate someone conversation. When somebody takes the time out of their day, out of their business, out of their life to pay it forward in education to empower someone else, those are some of the greatest connections and conversations, because you're not doing it for the purpose of them moving brokerages. You're really doing it from a place of service to help educate and empower, right? And people can feel that when it's not attached to a decision that they have to make. It's really just attached to investing in them as a human being and as a business person. And so those can be some of the most powerful, influential conversations when someone is already happy where they're at and with what's going on, but they're also open. And that, that question of like, are you open, becomes such a powerful question, right? Love that. We've got multiple other people on the call: Erica, Jen, Michael, Katie, Shay. Would love any other perspectives, comments, questions, feedback, things that you guys are doing that are working really well.
I have some thoughts anyway, maybe that
Yeah.
we're getting ready to implement. So I went through your boot camp, which was, first of all, step one. Everybody should do that because it's all there step by step, exactly what to do. So we're going to work on the story and getting that going. And then our goal will be this is just like our kind of business plan that we've hashed out on our drive to Chicago this last weekend. We are going to do one EXP lunch and learn with 5 minimum attendees once a month. And my short goal, or easier, simple goal, will be to watch an EXP video with 5 people a week. I don't know if that's the exact best way as far as watching the video goes. We talk about it a lot. I don't know. Historically, I haven't had a lot of practice with it, but people aren't into it, or they get bored with the video like partway through. I had a guy fall asleep watching the Brent Combs video, for real, on Zoom. I watched him do it.
Did you give him the homework of what to do while he was watching the video?
Yes. Yep. I said to write down anything he likes, and that if he had questions during, to write those down.
Okay, so let me redirect that a little bit.
Okay.
Shay, we're going to look at this overview together, and here's what I'd like you to do. Are you open? Are you open to doing something while the video goes? Look for, at least 3 specific questions of things you want to understand more about or that are intriguing to you, so that we can have a conversation at the end. When you give somebody something to do versus if you have any questions, we can talk about them, it directs their mind and their focus to listen in a way where they're looking for what those questions are versus disengaging because they don't have any questions in the moment. So it's a really powerful mind focusing shift.
Yeah, I like how you said it, like to set it up. I might even tell them, say, hey, I want you to write 1, 2, 3 on a piece of paper. And then I want you to fill in each one of those with a question, a specific question or a specific thing you like during the movie.
Yeah, and it could be 3 things that are most interesting to you and 3 things that you want to understand at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Yep, love it. That's good. I will do that. But this guy's kind of sleepy anyway, so it wasn't. I've seen him fall asleep in a room full of guys watching football, and I'm like, the heck is he doing? He's having a nap right there.
Is he one of the
Anyway.
seven dwarfs?
He looks like Newman from Seinfeld. Not kidding, like almost exactly like Newman. So anyway, so to get that video thing, 5 people like a week goal. And then I want to put in here, I want to practice and learn the EXP PowerPoint at a very good level so that I can actually give that for lunch and learns and also go through that with people. And then I have to have like a call goal. I don't have that in here. I like just having this script. But I think that script you were talking about earlier about, well, whatever it was you heard it at Maui. It might have been Jesse. It sounds like the one Jesse Zagorski says all the time.
Yep, it was
Um,
Jesse's.
I figured. So I need to just get him to like write that out for me, or Autumn
I
probably
have
will.
screenshots of it, so we will,
perfect.
yeah, I'll pop those in. We're gonna go through our Thursday, our once a month leadership call. We're gonna do a recap of that event so we can disseminate. There was a lot of really great stuff. I was looking around the room like super bummed that more people from our organization were not in the room based
Mhm.
on the content that was being delivered. It was really, really good. So yeah, we'll go through a recap of that this Thursday and share those.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard him say that script a million times, and the more I go around trying to find other things, it's like circles back. It's like great, you know. So don't try to make it too complicated.
Yep,
So anyway,
it's got the 6 steps in there of how to create a meaningful conversation. Same thing as when you're doing the 3-way call. It's got all those pieces, which is why it works so well.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. So for the remainder of, Selena, do you have anything else that you wanted to add on that topic, or do we want to shift to specific questions or things that anyone that's on the call today wants to walk away with?
No, I think, but I did forget to ask if anybody had any questions regarding any of those strategies, specifically like agents who are newbies or anything like that. Does anybody have any questions regarding those? And I'm sorry, I know that John, you came in a little bit late there, but we went over a couple of strategies for just finding recruits and things like that. Did anybody have any questions regarding any of that? No, it's a different strategy with high volume lead generation in that respect, but it does work if you work it. And it is a good time. Guys, don't dilly-dally on this. This is the time to make those calls. I know I used the word dilly-dally, but I saw Katie's face. She's like, I'm from the South. Don't dilly-dally. This next month is going to be a very critical time. So, you know, if you're going to do it now and make those calls, make those conversations about people who are looking to make a change right now. So, okay, carry on.
Fantastic. So for those of you that are on the call, whether you're coming off mute and asking for it or putting it in the chat, what do you want to make sure that you walk away from today's call with?
Guys are so quiet today.
As you seek, so you shall find. Seek nothing, find nothing.
Okay, I have one more question then.
Okay, there, I knew that was going to get somebody's bee in a bonnet going.
You know, I keep talking. But anyway, it's just like maybe a one-sheeter overview of the 6 steps or the 8-year boot camp. Is there like a one-sheeter that's kind of like step by step without rewatching all the videos type of thing? You know what I mean? Like an
You mean
overview?
you want the PowerPoint on
On the boot camp.
what specific thing are you looking for, Shay?
Oh gosh, the conversation.
Is it the
uh,
story? Is it the third party validation conversation? What's
kind
the
of kind of
what
that whole
context?
thing. Is there an overview of each step in like on a 1-sheet or a 2-sheet type thing? A written, like you can look at it without watching the video?
There is not. There's the bullet points that are used in the slides in the video that I talk about. However, there's not a scripted thing.
Well, then that might be good. Is that shareable?
It is. It's the sticky notes.
Oh, yes, I have that. I have
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's what it is then.
Yeah, the sticky notes. And I would recommend that you transfer those sticky notes to actual sticky notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is how I got that ingrained in my brain when I was having conversations with people. Clear the time, set the context of why I'm calling, an edification or a compliment of them, like those things, so that at any point in the conversation, if like, wow, I've been on the phone way too long, I could see where I went awry and get myself back on track, right? So most of the conversations are going to be invitations to a larger conversation versus having them in that initial conversation. And so if you have the sticky notes up when you're going through that process, it'll keep you on track that, if you're on the phone like any longer than 2 to 3 minutes, you're basically lessening the likelihood of actually scheduling an appointment and getting that next conversation set up. And that is, that's the first thing that fills the pipeline in those conversations, is the ability, I call it being brief, be brilliant, and be gone. And if you use those sticky notes as a guideline to do that, and you can even take Jesse's invite of what, his invite is those sticky notes, because he created and crafted an invite around those things. And so like, if you find yourself derailed in a conversation, you're like, oh, I gotta, like, next step is actually get a committed time, right? Versus, and sooner than later, like, when's your first open time, right? So that would be what I would say is that format. Once you're in the conversation with someone, it is those story sticky notes
Cool.
that will guide you through that, background, how long they've been in the industry, what's working really well, what do they like most, what are the 3 things they're looking to improve this year, more, better, or different in their actual business. That's going to, open up opportunities for you to add value, create value. And like, I just like to keep things in sticky notes, because my experience is when it goes off into a script, like if someone understands the principle of something versus the word by word execution, when you understand the principle of something and where you're at in those sticky notes, it allows you to bring you to the conversation, and people by people. Right. And so if you're really clear on the principles and the foundations of those key pieces of each aspect of the conversation, you can navigate your way through that in a way that is unique to you, where people are going to buy you, but you've got, I call it like the bumpers in the bowling alley that keeps the ball actually moving towards the pins versus off in the gutter somewhere. And that is really like when you think about mastering the art of attraction and recruiting, that's where those skills are built, is like you're living, you're functioning, you're operating from those specific principles in a way that is authentically you.
May I chime in on that, Casey?
Yeah. Go, John.
I love, what you just said about you being you, because I've gone through this process. It's been a couple years now that I've been with EXP, and I've been trying to be everybody but myself. I've been trying to be Brent Gove. I've been trying to be Jesse Zagorski. I've been trying to be Casey Council. And in one respect, it's been good in the sense that I've been learning all of these tools and techniques, learning these scripts, but I hate scripts. I don't like to be scripted, but I like to know what to say. I like to have some guidance. And so what I've realized is, okay, I've got all this knowledge and I'm trying to remember all these scripts, but really I need to find a way to put it into my own words. And the only way I can do that is if I know it cold or know it well enough, and then I can craft it the way I want to say it. And so I'm starting to find my own voice and be authentic. And it's just starting, it feels so much better, and it's so much easier to pick up that phone because I'm just being myself.
Yeah, you make such a great point. I think back to Gary Brecka's talk at the Build conference in Dallas last year, when he was talking about the most powerful emotion there is not love, it's authenticity. And that is so huge, right? Because like Brent is effective because he is operating from his authentic self, right? And if I was to mirror match language, be Brent the way that Brent is, it's not going to be received in the same way, because it's not authentic to me. It's not authentic at all, right? And so each person, and that is the opportunity, right? Is when we step into individually who we are authentically, and we've got the bumpers on the bowling alley, which is the principles that are in place for how to be effective. And those 2 things come together and come to life, exactly what you're describing happens, and you become like a hot knife through butter, because people can feel that you are you, and you are convincing, and you are grounded, and you are certain, and you are clear, and you're effective, and you're influential, and you're persuasive, because you are being 100% you. However, you clearly have a track that you're on. Right. And that is the thing that takes time to do. And I love what you said about your journey of attempting to do it the way that other people have, to get your feet under you, to discover, what's going to really work well for you, for who you are and how you like to work and how you're energized to work. Because when we like the experience that we're having, we want to do more of it, versus like, oh man, every time I go and do that, it feels not like me. And I don't care for it, and I'm doing it. And so it becomes low priority in that instance. But when you get a groove and you're like, oh man, I'm super energized to do this, I want to do more of it, I want to keep doing it, that's where the magic is, and that's where the sweet spot is. And I mean, think about how many uninspired people are walking around out there, or how many people are burned out that are walking around out there, or how many people are like really good, but they're at the top of their game and they're like, man, I want to be challenged. And where's somebody that's got some juice, that's got some pizzazz, and they look around the landscape of their relationships and they're surrounded by a bunch of other people like them in the same spot that they're in. And then someone comes along that has like the it factor, that's got something that is, that's a little bit extra juice, that's like, hey, what is going on with them that I don't have going on here? And that is the actual attraction piece in play, when we're engaging, interacting, and speaking with people. And so we talk about the 10,000 hour rule to mastery, and most people aren't willing to go through 100 hours. Because the mastery part of it is like, the mastery only comes from the execution, right? So when you're willing to be out there and be in the execution and constantly refining it, of like, okay, what's working, what can improve, how did that feel to me, what was effective, like, was there urgency in the appointment that got set, or am I like on a calendar for next year? Like, how did what I brought to that conversation influence and impact the person that I was in the conversation with, as a result of like where it actually ended up, and what's next, and what's next, right? Because even if you've got those pieces together and you're like kind of casual, sit back, and like, that you have the goods, however, there's no urgency to it, then the person on the other end of that conversation is like, they've got no urgency either. But when you bring those pieces that are like, urgency is not pressure. That's a lot of time people get confused between urgency and pressure. It's not pressure to meet right now. It is, there's an excitement and there's an urgency to it, because of the possibilities that sit on the other side of the conversation as those conversations open up. So I love that you tapped on that. All right. Anything else? What are you guys looking to walk away with or want to share? I love what Selena said: memorize, internalize, customize.
Yeah, I think that's where people tend to get hung up on scripting, right? And they're like, oh, I don't like scripting because it doesn't sound like me. And I'm like, well, I don't want you to say it perfectly. I just want you to memorize it so it becomes internalized, and then you can customize it so it sounds just like you. You're literally saying exactly the same thing, but it becomes your authentic self, right? Then it becomes you, but you're still saying the same thing. That's the whole purpose behind learning to script and learning those stories. So go ahead. Sorry.
And I just wanted to say thanks to John, because he actually just shared pretty much everything that I've been thinking, just recently as well. Like, because I'm making the calls, but I don't feel like I've tapped into me doing it authentically. So now I shouldn't have to feel like I needed the approval is not really the right word, but the okay to do that. But now I feel empowered to go do that. So thank you.
Thank you for being on the call, John. And for sharing, and for executing, and integrating, and implementing, and making a difference for Erica. All right. Well, if there is nothing else for today, we'll go ahead and close out. And this same line on Thursday at the same time will be a leadership call for the month, where we'll be doing the recap of the Maui Mastermind. And this is your last chance, going once, going twice, going 3 times, for any leftovers, any ahas, any final questions before we conclude.
Where will you be putting the, I'm really interested in the, what you learned from Jesse at the Maui Mastermind. Where will you be putting that?
So we actually, Selena, why don't you tell them because this is your baby?
I checked and it is up and running, so yay. So on the Empire Builders Pro website, we now have under resources, a
Will
resource.
you share your
Share it?
screen and show it visually?
Yep,
Because so
let me
many
open-
people are visual
let
and
me-
I'm on my phone, not my computer.
let me open it so you can see
Thanks.
it. And then let's do this, share. Doop, doop, doop. Okay. So, all right, you guys can see my Empire Builders Pro page. Making sure, let me move this little guy down here so it's like not right in the way. All righty, now under resources, we have resource library. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, and I will make one specifically that says, you want one, Casey, that says Maui Mastermind, or we can name it whatever you want to name it specifically, or leadership call, or
You know what? I think we'll name it is recruiting tools and resources. And then I have those slide decks that I've built that have everything from the power of 5 to the story sticky
Awesome.
notes to the 3-way call sticky notes. We'll load everything into there.
So now just what guys, whenever you click there under resources, you would go to resource library. And from now on, this is where we will be loading things. So you can see like I have free Friday coaching calls, all of those things are in there. Going forward, as we're on these types of calls and we say we're going to share something, you can now go into the appropriate folder and find all of those documents. It's just so much easier than us trying to keep track of who's on calls and email them out and make sure that it's not going to people's spam. Going forward, this resource library will be here. So depending on which calls you're on or what you're looking for specifically, you know, you would go into the appropriate folder and it'll be in there for you to make a copy. Okay, so none of this will be editable. You can either download it as a PDF, or if it's an active Google sheet, it will allow you to make a copy of the Google sheet and then, you know, have your own from there. Does that make sense? So again, I'll show you again on the Empire Builders page, go to resources and under resource library. This is an active Google Drive. And when you click on each folder, depending on what you're looking for.
You're not screen sharing.
Oh, that's weird. It says I am.
Oh yeah, you are. I was on the wrong screen. Never
Oh,
mind. I have my phone.
I was like, that's so strange. So you'll just go into the folder and it'll be there. So we'll constantly be adding things in each time that we do a new call and whatever it is that we're putting in. So we're so excited to do this because it's so much easier than trying to keep track of who we need to email things to. Very excited. Very excited. So we will pop it in there for you, John, so you'll know where to go.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being on today. Great to see all of your faces. We'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And thank you, Selena. Everyone make it a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.